Welcome to Nice and Blunt. I'm Adam Riancho, and this is your injury report for Week 17. I'll be at the Chargers game, so I need to make this video earlier than typical, and I believe most of these injury updates will hold. Other than the teams, the Falcons and the Rams, everyone is done practicing for the week. So let's go through the offensive positions and then followed up with O-line and defense. We're going to start at running back in Baltimore, where Justice Hill is on IR. Earlier in the week, there was a chance he would return, but I'm not getting any news that he was practicing. I assume he will not be active on Saturday. In Cleveland, Quinshon Judkins is on IR, and Dylan Sampson, I think, will be his backup that gets the start. He was limited all week in practice, questionable for this game, but didn't play last week, so it's not a full guarantee, but I think it looks like Sampson is the Browns running back you want. The backup would be Raheem Sanders, though, in case Sampson can't start. I think I'd rather have Raheem Sanders as the backup plan. In Green Bay, Josh Jacobs is active, not on the injury designation. In Houston, Woody Marks is also active alongside Nick Chubb. They're healthy enough to play. In Jacksonville, Baishal Tutin is questionable. His finger injury held him out last week. He was limited all week, and I believe he will be available against the Colts. In LA for the Chargers, Kimani Vidal is questionable with a neck injury. Didn't practice Tuesday or Wednesday, but then on Thursday was limited. I think he'll be available, but I would assume maybe more volume is going to Omarion Hampton. I feel more confident in Hampton. In Las Vegas, Raheem Mostert is also questionable with an ankle injury. Didn't practice Wednesday. I think Genty will get the rock overwhelmingly. In New England, some positive news on Travion Henderson. By Friday in practice, he was full. So still not out of the protocol. There's a chance he doesn't play, but everything is pointing to him getting activated ahead of kickoff. So if you have Travion and Ramondre, I think both will play, and I think I'd rather trust Travion than Stevenson. In New Orleans, Alvin Kamara is out and Devin Neal has been on IR for over a week. At wide receiver, now let's pivot to this position. In Arizona, Marvin Harrison Jr. is questionable with his heel injury, but limited all week in practice. I expect him to play. And the same thing for Drake London in Atlanta with his knee injury. Limited all week, questionable, but I assume he will play on Monday. In Baltimore, Rashad Bateman is active. He's missed some time. But in Buffalo, Keon Coleman, I assume, will be another healthy scratch. In Chicago, Rome Odunze is out, not coming back with that foot injury. However, Luther Burden, who didn't play last week, will be active, is going to play against the Niners. In Green Bay, Christian Watson is questionable with a shoulder injury. Did not practice on Thursday, but before that, he was full on Tuesday and Wednesday, and I think it was just rest maintenance related. I believe Watson will suit up. Not a guarantee, but I think he'll be active this week. In LA for the Rams, Devontae Adams is questionable with this hamstring injury, and he did not practice on Thursday. He also did not practice on Friday. So that's probably the player I'm most concerned about at this position. If you're waiting for him, you have to wait until Monday. And if he doesn't practice at all tomorrow, I would assume it's more likely he is not going to play. So that is a major concern. I don't think they need him to beat the Falcons, but obviously if he is available, you'd want to start him. So, trust no one really in that offense to be the ideal backup plan, especially at receiver. If you don't have Puka, I don't think I trust anyone else. So good luck there. I think you might just want to start someone who plays on Sunday and avoid all of it. But maybe you'll look to Darnell Mooney if you really need to. In Las Vegas, we got Jack Betch, questionable. Not many details. I think he'll play, but on the injury list. And then in New England, both Kayshon Boutte and Mac Hollins are both out. So perhaps Pop Douglas can step up, but he is also on the injury report with a hamstring. Questionable, limited all week in practice. I think other than Stephon Diggs, we could see Kyle Williams have a good game. I do think Williams offers upside. In New Orleans, though, Chris Olave questionable as well with a back injury. He was full Wednesday and Thursday in practice, but then on Friday, he was limited. I think he's going to be fine. I would assume he'll get plenty of targets. Not worried about Olave. The backup receiver, Mason Tipton, is questionable, limited all week with a groin injury, but I don't really trust another Saints receiver other than Olave or Juwan Johnson. In Pittsburgh, DK Metcalf was suspended, but Calvin Austin is out, and I don't trust Roman Wilson. I think the main pass catchers are Adam Thielen and MVS alongside the running backs. In Seattle, Torrey Horton is staying on IR, not expected back until hopefully the postseason, but even that is not a guarantee. The coaching staff was pretty non-committal on his return. Ricky Pearsall of San Francisco is questionable. I think he'll play limited all week with that ankle and knee injury. He's been banged up all season. Maybe they try to get him healthy for the playoffs. I think it's looking like he'll be available in week 17. I think on Sunday night he will play. Without Kittle, perhaps, they will need him. But we'll get to tight end in just a second. First, at quarterback, we got Lamar Jackson of the Ravens, doubtful with a back injury. Didn't practice all week, so the vibes are bad. The reporting on him is down the tank. I expect Snoop Huntley to not just start this week, but next as well. In Green Bay, their opponent, we got Jordan Love out with a concussion. He was limited in practice this week, but he's not going to play. So Malik Willis is expected to get the start. But Willis was not practicing on Wednesday with an illness and shoulder injury. He is questionable, but on Thursday and Friday he was limited. I assume he will be fine. I think he's going to play and finish the game against the Ravens, but you never know. It could be the third stringer. I doubt it. I think we're getting Malik Willis. But in Indianapolis, Anthony Richardson is staying on IR, not ready to be activated. I doubt at this stage of the season they're going to move off of Phillip Rivers. I doubt next week they pull up Richardson just for one game. In New York, Justin Fields is going on IR, so not coming back this year. Brady Cook is their guy. And Deshaun Watson is not getting activated off of IR either. It was expected, but Shedeur Sanders will finish the season as the quarterback for the Browns. At tight end, we got Kyle Pitts, questionable as well with a knee injury, limited all week, and I think he will play. I think it's just the end of the year. Everyone's banged up, and he's a very important part of their offense. So I expect him to play. And then in Buffalo, we have two tight ends that are questionable. Both Dalton Kincaid and Dawson Knox didn't practice Wednesday or Thursday, but they were limited on Friday, and I think they'll be available. But at the moment, I don't feel like super confident trusting a single Bills pass catcher. None of them are really safe. I only trust the quarterback and the running back in Buffalo. In Cincinnati, Noah Fant is questionable with an ankle injury, limited all week in practice, and while no one's going to start him, his availability probably makes Mike Gesicki even less appealing. In Cleveland, David Njoku will be out yet again, so Harold Fannin is the guy. But Fannin is questionable. With a groin injury, he was limited all week in practice, and I expect him to play, but I would double check before game time. There's a chance he doesn't suit up, but I would start him vehemently against the Steelers if active. In LA, the Rams are not going to activate Tyler Higbee. He's going to stay on IR. But in Las Vegas, they are putting Brock Bowers on IR, shutting him down for the season, and he is not available. So Michael Mayer will get the start, an appealing matchup against the Giants. However, in New York, the Jets have Mason Taylor remaining out yet again. Not going to play for the second week in a row. We also have George Kittle of San Francisco, probably the biggest piece of news here. Questionable and is a true game time decision on Sunday night. Didn't practice at all this week. And while he doesn't need to practice, you would like to have seen him at least on the field in any capacity to feel more confident that he would play, because you know the Niners are making the playoffs. While they need this game to have the 1 seed, it's possible they just need Kittle healthy come January. So I don't think they're going to force it. I think if you have Kittle, if you're relying on him, you're going to want Jake Tonjes as the backup. Tonjes has stepped up, scored touchdowns consistently when Kittle has not played. Even last week when Kittle was on the field, Tonjes had a touchdown that was called out of bounds. They did not challenge it. They snapped it before they wanted to, and next thing you know, Christian McCaffrey scored a touchdown instead. But the replay made it look like Tonjes was actually possibly in bounds. I think they should have challenged it at least, gave him a shot. But instead, it was wiped off the slate. I think he can step up. He's been reliably used in the red zone, and when Kittle has missed, there are a couple of games where he has a lot of targets as well. So I think Tonjes is the main backup plan. Unless you want to risk it with Cole Kmet, Colston Loveland, that is fine, I guess. But I think Tonjes is right in the same tier, in the same role as Kittle in that offense, some high upside. And then I also don't feel super confident betting on Terrence Ferguson or Colby Parkinson on Monday night. So unless you have Pitts as your backup, there's really no like clear pivot option. I would just trust Tonjes. I genuinely think he can provide a touchdown and like 40 plus yards. I think he'll be fine in your lineup. I like Tonjes as the handcuff. Now that's it for all the offensive players at the position. Now let's talk about the non-fantasy relevant options, but still very important for the injury list. We're going to go through offensive line and defense. Let's start in Arizona and go through the league. Let's get it going. In the Cardinals' offensive line, they got left tackle Paris Johnson out. Same with guard Evan Brown. He's not going to play. And then center Hijali Forholt is questionable as well. They have been missing their right guard, Will Hernandez. On defense, defensive tackle Walter Nolan was placed on IR. That's a first-round pick, not available. And then at corner, Max Melton and Will Johnson are both questionable. They may not play, but Max Melton didn't play last week, so this is moving in the right direction, at least for him. Also at corner, they got Kaytrell Clark, who's out, and Garrett Williams, who is also out. He tore his Achilles. The depth at corner is terrible. So I would assume Joe Burrow plays really well, especially given Budda Baker's also out. At safety, they're pretty depleted. Even behind Budda Baker, the backup Jalen Thompson is also questionable. At linebacker, Josh Sweat is questionable as well. And the Cardinals have just been super injury riddled since like mid-November. Last 5 weeks, almost everyone is out. So let's move on to the Falcons, where on the offensive line, Tyrone Wheatley was placed on IR. On defense, cornerback Clark Phillips has been upgraded to questionable off IR. I think he's going to come back and play. And then cornerback Mike Hughes is questionable. On defense, their linebacker James Pierce is questionable as well, limited all week in practice. And then defensive tackle Rook Orororo is also questionable, limited as well. In Baltimore, defensive tackle Taven Bryan was placed on IR. He's not going to play. And then linebacker Jay Higgins is out, along with linebacker Tadai Buchanan also is out. In Buffalo, their tackle Chase Lunt was placed on IR, not available rest of season. And then defensive tackle Jordan Phillips is out, so is defensive tackle Daquan Jones. Safety Jordan Poyer is out, and kicker Matt Prater is also not going to play. He's out. They are replacing him with Michael Badgley. He's been pulled up from the practice squad. In Carolina, for the Panthers, their defense will be missing linebacker Trayvon Wallace, who's out. Defensive tackle Tershawn Wharton, he's also out. And then on the O-line, guard Robert Hunt has been upgraded from IR, questionable this week, limited in practice. I think he will be coming back to the lineup. In Chicago, their cornerback Josh Blackwell is questionable, along with cornerback Nashawn Wright, also questionable, and cornerback Nick McLeod has been ruled out. Their linebacker TJ Edwards is questionable as well, and so is safety CJ Gardner-Johnson. In Cincinnati, their center Matt Lee is on IR. Their defensive end Joseph Asai is also out. And then defensive tackle Chris Jenkins was placed on IR, and defensive tackle BJ Hill is also questionable. At corner, Josh Newton is also questionable. The Bengals are a bit banged up. In Cleveland, they are missing linebacker Winston Reed, who's out yet again. Their offensive tackle Jack Conklin was placed on season-ending IR, and guard Wyatt Teller is questionable, but he was limited in practice. On the defensive line, D-tackle Sam Kamara is questionable, but limited in practice, and cornerback Miles Harden is also questionable. In Green Bay, they got cornerback Bo Melton questionable, along with safety Evan Williams, also questionable. Linebacker Christian Welch is on IR, but going to stay out. Offensive tackle Zach Tom is questionable. Their guard Sean Ryan, also questionable. And their guard John Williams was ruled out. In Houston, offensive tackle Trent Brown was ruled out. And the rookie offensive tackle Arante Urseri is questionable. Their O-line might be missing both tackles. Their linebacker Jamal Hill is out. Their linebacker Jake Hansen is on IR. Defensive end Darrell Taylor is on IR, and cornerback Ajani Carter is also out. In Indianapolis, their guard Dalton Tucker is questionable. Their center Tanner Bortolini is out. And then offensive tackle Bernard Riemann is questionable. On the defense, their linebacker Buddy Johnson's questionable. Defensive tackle DeForest Buckner is out. Defensive end JT Tui Malau is out. Cornerback Sauce Gardner, though, might return. He's questionable. He's been out for a few games. And then safety Daniel Scott has been ruled out. For the Jaguars, center Robert Hainsey is questionable, and their guard Patrick Mohari has been ruled out. On defense, cornerback Jordan Lewis is on IR, and defensive end Danny Strigau is out. In Las Vegas, they ruled out defensive end Max Crosby. He was not happy about it. And then safety Jeremy Chin was placed on IR. So is center Jordan Meredith, also placed on IR. In LA for the Chargers, guard Jamari Salyer is out. Guard Mekhi Becton is questionable. And then defensive tackle Tyre Tart is questionable. Cornerback Benjamin St. Juste has been ruled out. And safety RJ Mickens is out as well. In LA for the Rams, offensive tackle Rob Havenstein is going to stay on IR, not being activated yet. Their offensive tackle Alaric Jackson is questionable. He did not practice on Thursday. And their guard Kevin Dotson also didn't practice Thursday either. He's questionable as well for this game. At corner, Josh Wallace is questionable, along with corner Roger McCreary. But he is coming up off IR. I think they're getting him back to the defense. Their defensive end Braden Fisk is questionable. That player is pretty important. In Miami, their safety Minka Fitzpatrick is out, along with cornerback Isaiah Johnson also out. And then defensive tackle Benito Jones is out. Linebacker Tyrell Dotson is questionable, but he was upgraded to full in practice this week. And then center Aaron Brewer is questionable as well. In New England, their guard Jared Wilson is out. Their linebacker Robert Spillane is out. Their linebacker Harold Landry is also not going to play. And then defensive tackle Joshua Farmer is on IR. So is defensive end Milton Williams. He's going to stay on IR. And defensive tackle Kiris Tonga has been ruled out as well. In New Orleans, defensive tackle Brian Breesy is out. And on the O-line, guard Cesar Ruiz will not play yet again. In New York for the Giants, they're missing two safeties. Anthony Johnson and Tyler Nubin are both out. At corner, Cordell Flott is questionable. And then on the offensive line, center John Michael Schmitz is doubtful. And then two offensive tackles, Andrew Thomas and Evan Neal, are both out. Evan Neal is on IR. Their guard, Joshua Ezendu, is also on IR, but he's been upgraded to questionable. I think he will play in this game. Defensive tackle Raheem Nunez Roches is also out. And defensive tackle DJ Davidson is out as well. In New York for the Jets, defensive tackle Jay Tufeli is on IR. Defensive end Will McDonald was also placed on IR. And same goes for linebacker Kiko Mauigoa. He's missed like 3 games. In Philadelphia, right tackle Lane Johnson remains out yet again. Linebacker Nakobe Dean is out. However, some positive news, defensive end Jalen Carter is active. He's missed a couple games. He will play against the Bills. In Pittsburgh, guard Isaac Siumalo is questionable. And then on defense, linebacker TJ Watt is out yet again. Cornerback James Pierce is out, along with cornerback Brandon Eccles. He's also out. And then cornerback Jalen Ramsey is a question mark, a game time decision for this game at Cleveland. In San Francisco, cornerback Renardo Green is out. And then in Seattle, offensive tackle Charles Cross is out as well. Their safety Kobe Bryant is out in the secondary. In Tampa Bay, their offensive tackle Tristan Wirfs is not going to play. He's been ruled out for this game. And then on defense, linebacker Anthony Nelson is out, along with defensive tackle Kalijah Cansey. He is out on IR. Lastly, in Tennessee, they got cornerback Marcus Morris out, along with cornerback Micah Robinson. He is questionable. And then linebacker Olu Oladejo was placed on IR. So those are all of the injury news and updates on offense and defense. And before we wrap up this video, I would like to run through the weather updates as well. For the most part, it's not that big of a deal. We have 4 games remaining that are indoors. We have the Falcons hosting the Rams, the Raiders hosting the Giants, the Colts hosting the Jaguars, and then the Chargers hosting Houston. Perhaps some of those games will be better on offense, but there's some good defenses there. I don't know if you need to be chasing strictly indoor games. In terms of the outdoor games, we have a weather update in Green Bay. It'll be 37 degrees and cloudy, 9 miles per hour, so I wouldn't worry about that impacting anyone. In Cincinnati, it's also not going to be a problem. It'll be 66 degrees, a light chance of rain, and 11 miles per hour. That's not enough to have me worried about the weather for the Bengals or Cardinals. But Arizona is not accustomed to playing in bad weather conditions. If it's raining at all, I might be worried about the Cardinals. But in Cleveland, it's going to be 47 degrees with a 90% chance of rain, 11 miles per hour. This is probably the grossest weather of the week, but not atrociously bad. Rain isn't always a death nail two offenses. In Tennessee, we got a 76-degree forecast, partly sunny, 15 miles per hour. So if anything, the wind is the only concern, but at least the Titans have been running the ball a lot more lately, and perhaps the Saints will lean on the run as well. In Miami, it'll be 80 degrees and sunny, 3 miles per hour, but the Bucks are also from Florida, so not going to be a problem for anyone. In New Jersey, the Jets are hosting the Patriots. It'll be 34 degrees and cloudy, but no rain, no snow, 2 miles per hour should be fine. And then in Carolina, there is a chance of rain, pretty minimal though, mostly cloudy, 55 degrees with literally no wind on the forecast. So not going to panic on that. In Buffalo, there's a chance they run it a little extra though. It'll be 40 degrees, not going to be snowing, but a 75% chance of rain and 6 miles per hour gusts. I think the rain perhaps leads to a little more rush attempts, but not that many to overwhelm the passing game and make it useless. In San Francisco, last game to mention, it's going to be 49 degrees and clear, 2 miles per hour, no weather at all. So in general, it's really not a problem this week. Weather's not a factor, despite us being very close to January. Last thing to mention before I end this video, I will be updating my win-loss picks right here. I had an editing error on Monday. Originally, I was going to take the Jaguars, but for the sake of entertainment, I think I felt inclined to bet on Rivers. Here's my logic. If the Colts win out, they play the Jaguars and Houston. If the Chargers win out, they play the Texans and the Broncos. That would involve the Texans losing both games and finishing with a record of 10-7. It would also involve the Colts catching up to them at 10-7, and with the win in the last game, bouncing them from the playoffs. Their defense is scary. I don't want to see the Texans again in the playoffs. However, in that scenario, the Colts would have the 7 seed and the Chargers would have the 2 seed. The Chargers would host Phillip Rivers in the wild card round. That's what I'm rooting for. It's probably not going to happen, but in order for it to have a chance, we need the Colts to win this week, hosting Jacksonville. So I'm taking the Colts there. I had it wrong in the original video because literally when I recorded, I took the Jaguars, and then before I posted it, I took the Colts, and I didn't change it by accident. So just correcting the record, we have the Colts winning at home this week. And then lastly, I would like to update my picks against the spread. A few of these lines have changed. Sadly, we did not cover with the Broncos. That's a bit of a red flag. I'd be a bit concerned about them in the playoffs if they can barely beat the Chiefs with a third-string quarterback. But in Arizona, that line has stayed the same at +7. We're going to stick with the Cardinals to cover. We're also sticking with the Chargers to cover. That line has maintained at -1.5. However, the Browns line has dipped to +3. We're going to stand pat. We took it at +3.5. We got the hook, and that's pretty valuable. In Chicago, though, that line has improved for our decision. We took Chicago +2.5. It is now +3. I will take that number. We open the door for a push if it's a field goal loss. But I believe the Bears will win straight up. I believe the underdogs are the side, regardless of what the spread will dictate. I also agree with the Bills prediction. The line has actually gotten closer to a pick'em, and I took the Bills -2.5 on Monday. The line is now 1.5, and I'll take that. Give me that extra point. I would be pissed if they only win by 2. And I don't cover. So 2 changes. We're getting a half point on the Bears. It's now +3. And we're getting a full point on the Bills. They're now only favored by 1.5. Otherwise, everything stays the same. And those are my picks against the spread. So those are all of the updates. I'm going to be posting all of my rankings as well. So if you don't want to miss out on that, make sure you're subscribed. Hit that like button if you made it to the end. And I will see you next time. I hope you get the dub. Let's get that championship. If you're playing in week 18, we will also make content in week 18 as well. But I'm Adam Riancho. I'll see you next time. Thank you for watching. Nice and blunt.